There's a lot happening right now in the NBA world as the draft is quickly approaching, and the lottery and combine both generated a lot of excitement for that in recent days. Free agency and trade rumors are heating up, and of course the conference finals are underway to determine who will face off in the NBA finals. Focusing specifically on the draft, not only is it a night where the next generation of NBA talent get welcomed to their new teams, but we also typically see quite a few trades go down, and sometimes those trades can shake things up a ton. Bleacher Report just put out a mock draft, where they also proposed quite a few draft day trades that they believe are already in the works. So as always, I'll be going through each one, analyzing whether or not they make sense, why or why not the teams involved would want to go through with it, and who would benefit the most from it. Before we start though, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. PrizePicks is the most fun way to play daily fantasy sports and could win up to 100 times your original entry. It's so easy to get involved as well. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less than their projected stats, and place your entry. While we're all basketball fans here, they do offer pretty much any sport you can think of to choose from and play, so there are so many different ways to play, and the potential combinations are endless. PrizePicks also offers tons of special promos regularly, such as Taco Tuesday and specialty free spaces for big matchups, so you don't want to miss out on the chance to take advantage of those. For this week's entry, I will be going with Jalen Brunson to score over 28.5 points. To sign up, go down to the link in the description and use code reference to take advantage of the offer, where all you have to do is play $5 and you get $50 added to your account instantly. Once again, thank you to PrizePicks for sponsoring the video. Now let's get back to the topic at hand. The first trade proposal from the article is between the San Antonio Spurs and the Boston Celtics, where the Spurs receive Jaylen Brown in exchange for the number 2 pick and the number 14 pick in this year's draft, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, and another future first-round pick on top of that. The Spurs really seem to have all of the luck in recent draft history after winning the lottery both literally and figuratively in 2023 to secure Victor Wembanyama. Last year they brought in Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle, and this year they shot up the draft order, securing the number 2 pick, which is an incredibly valuable asset based on how highly Dylan Harper is viewed as a prospect. I know on the surface it seems wonky to bring in another point guard with both Castle and De'Aaron Fox on the team, and even though I'm always an advocate for taking the best player available at the top and figuring everything else out later, I also see this proposal as an obvious point of interest for the Spurs as well. The Spurs are going to emerge quickly next season, and as a team on the rise, are looking for ways to improve their chances of winning, however possible. So adding a finals MVP in Jaylen Brown on the wing not only gives them yet another all-star caliber talent, but he also plays a big position of need. Brown has grown accustomed to producing in loaded lineups during his time in Boston, so playing alongside Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox won't be a problem for him at all. His work on defense would make the Spurs even scarier on that end, and it may be the perfect time to take a swing at a trade with the Celtics based on how their season ended. It's not going to be an easy thing to swallow for Celtics fans, but the end of this core group may have just went down. With Jason Tatum set to miss next season with a ruptured Achilles, and the team's payroll being the biggest in the entire NBA, they're severely limited with what they can do to improve. Seeing a chance to get younger and prepare for the future by being able to draft a young stud like Dylan Harper, plus getting a second lottery pick and some productive players like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and Jeremy Sohan to fill in for Tatum and Brown in the meantime, actually poses as a pretty tempting offer. I personally think this type of trade is actually something that would be strongly considered by both sides because of this, but for Boston, they would have to think long and hard about what they want their next steps to be as a team in order to go through with this. The next proposal from the article is between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Phoenix Suns, where the 76ers receive Kevin Durant in exchange for the number 3 pick in this year's draft, Paul George, and another future first-round pick. Related to what we just discussed in the last segment, that with the Celtics being down and out next year due to injury, the East has never been more wide open, and the 76ers are a team that desperately want to bounce back after injuries derailed their own season all year this year. Paul George was a pretty big disappointment after signing a big supermax deal with them in free agency last year, and with 3 more years left on that contract, the rationale here is obviously to try to not only get his terrible contract off the books, but to also use it to flip him into a player of a similar age in Kevin Durant, who is actually still playing at an elite level. The Suns are on the verge of blowing things up, and if they were given a chance to secure a top 3 pick in this year's draft, they're taking it every time because they need to hit the reset button and get younger fast, and someone like Ace Bailey would be a good starting point. The Suns are already locked into Bradley Beal's contract for 2 more years because of his no-trade clause, so taking on the rest of Paul George's contract would still at least help keep them competitive, while also developing a young talent that they could draft this year, like Ace Bailey or whoever else they would use that 3rd pick on in this scenario. But for Philly, I think I would proceed with a lot of caution with this one. Of course, Kevin Durant is an upgrade over the current version of Paul George and gives them a much better chance to win next season, but he also only has 1 year left on his current contract, and this is a lot to sacrifice for one all-in year where you don't even know if Joel Embiid's knee is capable of fully healing. Giving up a top 3 pick that represents yet another strong member of the team's core moving forward is a massive risk, and even though I am admittedly someone a bit lower on Ace Bailey's potential than some, it would still probably be better to have him locked into the team for the next 8 years than it would be to swing for the fences on 1 year of Kevin Durant. And especially if they were to come out of next season with nothing, then have to see Kevin Durant walk in free agency because they can't afford to re-sign him, then that's just a disaster. It's tempting, obviously, because it's Kevin Durant, but ultimately the Sixers got themselves into this mess by swinging and missing too often, so for once, I believe they should say no to a trade like this and prioritize their future. The next proposal from the article is between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Phoenix Suns, where the Pelicans receive Kevin Durant in exchange for the number 7 pick in this year's draft, CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, Jordan Hawkins, a future first-round pick, and a future first-round pick swap. It sure seems like Kevin Durant could get traded on draft night, but figuring out which deal gets done is where things get interesting. The Pelicans are yet another team at a crossroads right now, with a roster built with the intention of competing in the playoffs, but due to disappointing performances and unfortunate injury luck, they also fell well short of that. This proposal gives the teams that are included what they want in theory, and for that alone, I'm willing to hear it out. The Pelicans don't hold as valuable of a pick in this year's draft as the 76ers do from the last proposal, so giving the 7th pick is much more reasonable in a trade for Kevin Durant. CJ McCollum and Kelly Olynyk are also both on expiring contracts, so they're pretty much upgrading to KD for 1 year, and the other first-round pick bolsters things further, plus Jordan Hawkins has shown he can be an impact scorer off the bench who is still very young himself. Rumors have swirled about the Pelicans, stating that pretty much anybody on the team could be traded this offseason, but if they don't look to trade Zion Williamson and remain committed to trying to win, then this move for Durant easily gets them back on that path as a playoff contender, with him, Zion Williamson, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and DeJounte Murray all hopefully being able to stay healthy. For the Suns, getting expiring contracts also works out well for them because freeing up money needs to be their priority right now. The first-round picks are a nice cherry on top, and if this offer was on the table, they would have a difficult time turning it down. Bringing in someone like potentially Con Knipple, Trey Johnson, Kaman Maluach, or Jeremiah Fears with that number 7 pick would be a nice start to their rebuild, and at this point, it's probably what the Suns need to focus on. And finally, the last proposal from the article we'll be going through is between the Houston Rockets and the Milwaukee Bucks, where the Rockets receive Giannis Antetokounmpo and Pat Connaughton in exchange for the 10th pick in this year's draft, Alperen Sengun, Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, Jock Landale, and 2 more future first-round picks. Giannis could be the best player traded this summer, with the Bucks seemingly reaching the end of the road as a contender with their current core. Damian Lillard, just like Jason Tatum, is set to miss most of, if not all of next season because of an Achilles tear, and without him there is not a chance in the world that the Bucks can compete for anything significant. There are going to be a lot of teams inquiring about Giannis in trade discussions this offseason, but the Rockets are definitely a group that have the assets to actually get a deal done. They're a deep roster filled with a ton of talented young players to the point where they can't play them all, and they also have the draft picks to bolster an offer further as demonstrated here. Alperen Şengün was just named an All-Star this season and is one of the most highly skilled big men in the NBA at just 22 years old, and for a Bucks team that may want to rebuild, he not only fits the timeline, but he would also be a fantastic centerpiece to begin that process with. Reed Sheppard didn't get to show much on the court this season because of how good the team was and how deep they were at guard, but he's still someone that could absolutely blossom in the right situation because he was just a top 3 pick last year and is still a smart decision maker and efficient 3-level scorer. It's also difficult to think of how other teams would be able to beat this offer because it checks a lot of boxes that a superstar trade needs. It's got a young all-star headlining the package, it has a few other talented young players worth developing, and it has meaningful draft capital included. Giannis would elevate Houston to be on the same level as Oklahoma City in the Western Conference, and they would probably become the favorites to win it all if the trade were to happen. So honestly, this is a blockbuster that I think makes a ton of sense. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about these proposed trades. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.